All right, we want to give a brief introduction to the phases of progress. The first point we want to make is this is not just for people groups. This is for places as well. We're already assessing geographies at different levels, at district level, block level, village level, using these metrics, using this scale, and it's been a very useful tool for geographies as well as people groups. I want to talk about where this came from. So there was a group of people that from several different organizations that were wanting to collaborate and share information so that they could see churches planted among every people group in a certain region. Well, as we began to attempt that, our first hurdle was establishing a scale to track the work in a way that everyone could agree on the terms. And so you'll see in this document that the word engaged or engagement is not going to be found anywhere, right? This was the source of a lot of the disagreement. And so the name Phases of Progress, yes, it's a little boring and generic, but we found it to be the least controversial among the many different organizations that were trying to come together and collaborate on this. So why did we track these things? Well, we wanted to track and assess the key milestones of gospel advance through a people group or a place. The first phase, historically, has been something that the Great Commission community has valued and wanted to track. This would be the phase in which the majority of the world might consider a group engaged. And so you might ask the question, is there someone on the ground that has taken ownership for this people group? And we're seeing the beginnings of a church planting strategy being implemented. But this doesn't tell us the full story. We want to take a more practical look into the details of the engagement and ask the question, is this people group hearing the gospel on a consistent, regular basis? Is there gospel activity among this people group or this place? The next natural question to ask is, has anyone from this people group responded to the gospel with repentance and faith and followed through with obedience to Christ with baptism? We're asking the question, has there been some fruit within this people group or this place? But none of us are satisfied with a few disciples within a people group. All of us are seeking to see local indigenous churches with local indigenous leaders being equipped and appointed in these churches. Once again, this is a great start, but we're, again, not satisfied. We want to see the gospel advance within this people or this place. We want to see this church take ownership of the missionary task and begin sending out their own missionaries and church planters and begin to reproduce churches. So this would be phase 5. The church is reproducing. And we want to see this happen at a large scale for the gospel to spread, for discipleship, church planting, and leadership development to truly multiply within this people or place. This would be phase 6, churches multiplying. And this last phase, phase 7, is such an amazing and healthy metric for us all to be shooting for, that this people group that was once the harvest field that we were aiming to start gospel work in has become the harvest force, has taken full ownership for the nations and sending their own workers out into the cross-cultural harvest fields. So phase 7 would be cross-cultural sending. We found these phases to be very valuable in the field. They are easy and translatable for national partners to understand and apply in the field. And we found that assessing each people group according to these phases has led our teams towards a clarified strategy as they determine action steps among each people group that they steward. So for example, if you had a team and you were stewarding a list and you had a people group that was at phase 3, and so they were disciples, the team can come together and discuss what needs to be done, what are our action steps in order to move this people group to a phase of starting a local church. That same team might be stewarding a list and have another people group that has been at phase 4 for many years, but it's been stuck there and it's not reproducing. Well, that team could sit down and make plans to help that church to begin to reproduce. What is the training? What is the teaching? What is the action steps that team needs to take? These are just a few examples of how these phases can provide clarity around the status of the people in a place, as well as determining the appropriate action steps required to continue to see the gospel advance among every people and every place.